welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you did not know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. You should go there. Welcome back in episode 322, coming off of hanging out with a friend, getting coffee, catching up. It was wonderful. And I put my phone down. Obviously, I'm hanging out with somebody, my friend. And we're leaving the coffee shop. I'm walking her back to her car. I look down on my phone. I see, I got a couple of notifications. Oh, must be a popular guy. One of the notifications, one was my mom. The second one was David Lynch had passed away. How often do we get breaking news on this podcast? Here we are. I think it's the first time this ever happened. We have breaking news, or in general, sometimes a show. Sometimes something happens, and I read it beforehand. So I still call it breaking news. We don't get breaking news on the show often. David Lynch. If you don't know who David Lynch is, Twin Peaks, Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet. He was an auteur. Elephant Man. He's a great director who challenged the system, and he passed away. He had emphysema, I believe. His family announced it via a Facebook post. I liked him. He was a great director, and it was nigh upon a couple of weeks ago when I was looking. I saw a reference to Twin Peaks in a show or a movie or something like that. Oh no, clips had been popping up on my YouTube channel, on YouTube, and I said I am going to check it out. I go to Paramount Plus. I see that it's there. I see the movies there. I see that not the reboot. It's not a reboot. It was a continuation of the series on Showtime. I see that's there, and then I go, that's a little too much for me. And then here we are. He's dead. I'm the one who did it. It was me. No, he's a wonderful director, and all the movies that I saw, with the exception of Dune, I did not like his Dune. I think his Dune was so thick and so difficult to understand. But I do like him as a director. So we're sad to see that happen. And we wish his family well. The next thing I wanted to talk about, we're just good. We're hitting the. I faff around for a bit, but now we're hitting. We're hitting the paces. Hitting the paces. That is the name of the episode. The next thing I want to talk about is the Golf League, TGL. This launched last week, and I did not know it launched last week. And in fact, I watched like truly a minute of the first golf match last week that involved. Hold on, let me see who was the first one. The first match was this. Well, they don't have stuff that happened in the past. Where are the results? The first match was January 7th, and it was the New York Golf Club versus the Bay Golf Club. And I wanted to see this. I'd heard last month, because I didn't follow. I'm going to tell you right now, I was not following this very clearly. Obviously not. I wanted to watch this. I watched I guess I was just skimming through channels. I watched a minute of it, and I didn't know what was going on. So then I turned away. And then this week, they're like, it's the Golf League is playing again. It's if you don't know what the Golf League is, it's Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy's. Well, actually, I don't know how much Rory has into this, but it's Tiger Woods is essentially like not mid-season because it is the beginning of the golf season, but golf, modern day golf exhibition where some of the best golfers in the PGA Tour come together and play what is essentially the simplest, not simple, but like the most modern version of golf, wherein like they're in a confined space inside of a convention center, the SoFi, I guess SoFi Center in Florida, and they it's just like it's a golf simulator. They hit a ball at this giant screen, and then that's a drive. Then they have a second shot on a surface that can be manipulated, whether they land in a bunker, they land in the rough or whatever, and then the final shot is the third shot. Typically, is in on a green that can also turn and spin and all this stuff, manipulation. And if you're wondering what the rosters are like, the New York team was Matt Fitzpatrick, Ricky Fowler, Xander Schauffele, my good friend Xander Schauffele. We were walking side by side at the FedEx tournament together. And then the Bay was Wyndham Clark, Shane Lowry, and Ludwig Oberg. And anyway, the only reason I started paying attention this week is they made it seem like this was whatever happened this week on January 14th was the first time that this was happening. And again, I watch golf. I watch a majority of the big tournaments. I had no idea, but I think the problem is because I only read about sports news. I don't watch ESPN analytics anymore. The only sports shows I really watch are Inside the NBA and Good Morning Football, and that's pretty much it because I feel like everybody else has nothing to say. Once GOAT is said, I tune out. When someone says, for me personally, I tune out. When someone says, honestly, I tune out because I don't think anything of note is going to come from that. And that's I'm not saying like I'm smart or anything. I just think it's stupid. So the golf league is this big thing, and there are famous people at these events. At these matches, and audiences can watch the matches, which is great. Watch them live, and they put them on ESPN, and thank goodness ESPN is going to be the broadcast partner for this. I think this is something that is necessary. I think it's great. I think it helps modernize the game of golf in the same way that the MLB speeding up the pitch clock. That's fantastic. I love that. It makes games go so faster. And I went to the longest Braves game. I went to the longest Braves game. What was that? 1985. It was like 2000 something. We had to ride the MARTA. This is when I was in high school. We had to ride MARTA back. It was like 2 a.m. We're all telling our parents. Well, I mean, mine didn't really care. But everybody's telling their parents, oh, we'll be back home. We'll be back home. It was crazy. They kept MARTA open for that. But in the same way, as I was watching the golf league, it made me recall, that golf, I do not like live. All right, I think that's blood money, and I think you should not take blood money to play golf. And everybody who took blood money, I don't care how good you are, you're a bad person. Anyway, I think it is things like the golf league, things like the match. I think that's what it is on that was on TNT and on Netflix. Those one-time golf events that have big PGA and LPGA people and celebrities, that's important to help bring golf to more people. And it allows people, even if it's DJ Khaled, it allows people to just, from the outside who see golf as boring, as an old man sport, as an old white man sport, to see that, hey, Serena Williams is watching Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas and all these other people play golf at a Florida, arena, then maybe I'll enjoy it. But again, it's just, Like watching it and not having any explanation of anything is just crazy to me. And also, it's very loose. The announcers are very loose. The commentators are so loose, and they make fun of each other. I think it's great. And I believe the players are wearing IFBs so they can hear everything the commentators are saying, which is hilarious to me. It's like the in season tournament for NBA. I like that. I think it is called the Emirates play-in tournament or whatever, but I like that. I think that's fun. I think that brings more emphasis because the NBA plays 82 games, and I like watching the Hawks. I like watching the Mavericks, my two favorite teams. I like watching LA. All these other. I like watching these games, but they get so boring, and it takes. Besides the all-star breaks for NHL and MLB and NBA, this is something different. We have to have more things because if we're gonna watch 120 games of baseball, let's liven it up a little bit. Let's add it. Let's make the pitch clock faster. Let's have them play. Let's have basketball players play a play-in tournament. Let's have golfers do this golf thing. Anyway, there's teams all over the place. I believe how many? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, I did count them out. And Atlanta has one, which is great. And we're represented by Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantley, Billy Horschel, Lucas Glover, and there's like all the greatest players are Hideki Matsuyama, Keegan Bradley. It's amazing to Tom Kim. I love watching Sahith Theegala and Colin Morikawa, another guy that I'm good friends with. I've only seen him twice in person. The first time I said his name, I said, and he laughed because I was like right next to him, a camera in his face. Oh my gosh. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna watch it the rest of the season, I guess, if we can call it that. One of my concerns is because this goes until March 4th. Oh, they will be playing Mondays as well. One of my concerns is I hope this does not take away 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday, February 24th. Ugh. One of my concerns is I hope this does not take away from people participating in tournaments. Because even though you have people like Tiger and Rory, who I believe have a free exception into the Masters and stuff like that. Maverick, hey buddy, come on. He's not barking. This is really good. He knows I'm recording. Truly, a minute before me pressing record on this episode, somebody rolled by outside. I think it was one of the maintenance people, and he was going crazy. And I was like, God, I hope he doesn't do that while I'm recording. But now he knows I'm talking. He's like, I gotta be quiet. But I hope this does not cut into people participating in tournaments, because I would like to watch people in tournaments. All right, and next up, 8 hours on ESPN. Next up, the Switch 2 was finally announced. Actually, I got to tell you, those first two things, David Lynch and the Golf League, were supposed to be the things I usually just talk about. Like I go to the movies and talk about that. And I just treat it like they're two stories. Maverick. Switch 2 is finally announced this morning. Earlier for the past couple of weeks, we've been getting details about Nintendo's newest console, which everybody knew was coming because they said that they were going to announce something, and then they said they have to release something before the end of the fiscal year, or they said they were going to release something by the end of the fiscal year. The fiscal year ends in March, I believe. Anyway, Nintendo's they announced a Switch 2. It looks like the Nintendo Switch, but slightly bigger, and instead of sliding on rails Joy-Con, they look like they magnetically snap in and out, which is great. I think the first month I had my Switch, and this is a known issue, I slid out the right Joy-Con, and there's a little button you press to slide it out, and the button connects to a clip, and the clip connects to the metal rail. the clip broke. And so ever since I've had my Switch for 5 years, it's just been that has been sliding in and out by itself, which is not fun. But the Switch is quite possibly my favorite console. I think of all the consoles that I've ever played and owned, I really do like the 3DS. The Vita was a nice console. I have an issue with, especially a guy who just bought a Vita last year from somebody or 2 years ago. I do like the Vita. It comes with proprietary, what's it called? In memory. And I think that's the thing that killed it. It wasn't anything else. Also, not the fact that Sony probably didn't properly support it for a very long time. The same way that they don't do the PlayStation VR, but people think that they're great because they sell the most consoles. Anyway, the Switch is great. I love the Switch. I don't need any apps for it. I don't need to watch Hulu on it or YouTube or any of that stuff. I just want to play games. That's why I have the Switch. My Xbox is my main console for multi-platform stuff, and the PlayStation is there just for exclusives. I don't plan on playing anything. Well, with the exception of I did beat the Guardians of the Galaxy game on PlayStation, and it was fantastic. But I've said this before. I bought my PlayStation just for Until Dawn. Speaking of which, Until Dawn's movie trailer came out today. I will go see it. I love Until Dawn so much. I just beat The Quarry as well. Anyway, the Switch 2 was announced. It's slightly bigger. It's got seemingly better Joy-Con. They look essentially the same. I don't know if there's an extra button or anything. They said the only other information was, because it's been leaked so much, the only other information announced was that they have a Nintendo Direct, which is their conference. I don't know, like mini video conferences about on April 2nd. So that'll happen. So a couple of months, we'll get more information about Switch 2. I don't think this announcement should cannibalize anybody buying Switch games, maybe accessories. The console is going to be backwards compatible. That's fantastic. That's great. My concern is the Switch 3, but we'll think about that in the future. Oh my gosh, we will think about that in the future. But IGN, like every other outlet, has the story I'm quoting is Wesley Yin-Poole, Nintendo finally reveals its next-gen console, confirms Switch 2 name. They have a bunch of articles already up about the Switch 2. We don't know. We literally don't know anything else. We just saw a trailer for it, and that's it. As for a price, it's going to be... When I won, I was, again, I'm very lucky to have won a Steam Deck during the Game Awards, like 2 or 3 years ago. I love my Steam Deck. I think it's great. It has allowed me, I picked up more PC games. It is now, compared to a lot of other handhelds that have come out recently, is underpowered, but it's still more powerful than the Switch. And again, I love the Switch. Now that Nintendo has seen what things like the Lenovo Legion Go, which is another handheld PC device, and the Steam Deck, and the Aya Neos, and the One Player X's, and all those, and the Win XPDs, or whatever those are called, GPD Wins. Now that they've seen what those can do, barring Linux or Windows as an operating system, or Bazite as a top system on top of that stuff, not even thinking about those. They have to consider that now that they're competing not just with Sony and Microsoft, and they're also, sorry, someone's yelling outside and it is distracting me. They're also competing with Apple, because Apple has these very powerful iPads out that people treat as their main computers. They have M4 iPads that can run Genshin Impact, hey, stop. That can run Genshin Impact and all these other free games, free RPGs, free games that sometimes have in-app purchases, that most of the time in-app purchases. They have to contend with games like Balatro that release on PCs, and they can play on Steam Deck that release on iPhones and Android phones. Balatro will probably be a Netflix game at some point. I'll see that. Yeah, they have to contend with Netflix releasing games on phones. So Nintendo, no matter how good they are, no matter how good a Pokemon game is, no matter how good the new Mario Kart's going to be, the new Mario game, the new Legend of Zelda, they have to contend with all that stuff. Speaking of Legend of Zelda, I have yet to beat the new Legend of Zelda. What is that one called? I see this is the problem because I'm distracted with other things, but I'm doing my best with games. But they have to contend with all these other things, and with that said, they have to put power behind this new system. They can no longer be, because they will have people like me who are the gamers who will buy whatever, but they can no longer be for everybody else the secondary thing. I think they have to position themselves as the have to haves, like they were with the GameCubes and the Wiis, for casuals and for hardcore alike. So I texted a friend this morning when that trailer dropped. An hour, I was at the gym. I came home, I was stretching, and I saw the trailer. I was like, oh God, that's what I do. Screamed, sitting at the table eating breakfast. Oh my God. 31 years old. And I told him it has to have, my phone is an S23 Ultra, and it is the mid-tier version of that. And by that I mean I bought, if the most terabytes you could buy was 512, I bought the one under that. And it's 16 gigabytes of RAM. I want to be able to play this Switch in the future. I don't want to have to, like the Switch now, I don't want to have to, wait for things to happen. My iPad Pro is still fast, it's still great, but compared to the M4 iPads, it's, not. So I don't mind if they charge $400, but it has to be, because the original Switch launched at $300. It has to be fast. It's gotta, I need a minimum of 24 gigs of RAM. I need onboard storage at 256. And I want to be able to continue playing my games. I want to take, I just bought the DLC for Pokemon Sword. And I also bought the DLC for Pokemon Violet. So I have at least minimum 40 hours of gameplay on both of these games. And I still have to beat Pokemon Arceus. I play a lot of Pokemon. And I just bought the DLC for Mario Kart 8. Years later. I don't care if the old games are enhanced on the Switch, but it would be great because that's how, I assume when the Steam Deck 2 is announced that I'll be able to, I'm going to choose a game at random. I'm going to be able to play RoboCop at 30 frames per second with no dips. And that's it. I mean, we'll see. We have no other information. Those are the things I want to happen with the Switch. All right, let's move on. This comes from Variety, written by Brian Steinberg. CNN eyes moving Wolf Blitzer to daytime slot. Wolf Blitzer's been with CNN since the 90s, and his show, The Situation Room, has been in the evenings since 2005. Rumor has it that they could move him to mid to late mornings. Rumor also has it that they could move him to Pamela Brown, help him, get him to co-anchor the 11 a.m. hour with Pamela Brown. Who knows if that will still be the Situation Room. I've worked with Wolf Blitzer. He did not know that, but I've been in the control room, controlling his prompter, helping him. Every time he said, he's like, hey, can you, and I'm like, you got it, Mr. Blitzer. Never said that to him. Never said the words, you got it, Mr. Blitzer. Every time he just asked for something, I just did it. That's pretty much it. It was CNN is, struggling. I from the inside, you could see that all of Warner Brothers Discovery, and, I'll say this, all of the industry, with all these cutbacks, these companies are trying to, when I was at Cartoon Network, we heard this a lot. When I was at CNN, I heard this a lot. Do more with less. So they want you to do the same amount of work, also more, but with less staff, with less, all that stuff. So now CNN is trying to get people to pay for its digital work, and and they're going to be focusing on more online things. David Zaslav doesn't want you talking about Trump, which is so stupid. All of cable news is losing to Fox News, and it's just because the viewers aren't as voracious as the right-wing nut jobs that tune into that network. And when you have someone like Zaslav, who is very clearly a Fox News viewer, you can go look at his donations for his money, his political donations. It's and the way he just talks, the way he talks to people. It's when you look at that stuff, and when you work in it, you have there are people who I worked with who have the answers, we should be able to speak up and say, this is what needs to be done, or here's something that can help. When I know I've mentioned this on LinkedIn Logs, which is the jobs podcast I record. When I was at CNN, I had my supervisor, the woman who would not go to renew my contract, who specifically said, "I'm not renewing your contract." Very true. When I was there, she asked me on more than one occasion, I think at least twice, what's something we can do to like for CNN to improve, and then I gave her like a list of things, and she promptly went through that list. It was like, no. I remember when the fires happened. Was it the Maui fires? I was just talking about this too. When the fires in Hawaii, when that happened, I remember very distinctly we were only talking to white people who moved to the island and who had their homes were second homes. And so when the fires happened, they were like, we're going to get out of here. And I remember, working the morning and the afternoon shifts and we were covering those stories, and all I would see is, those people just talking about, oh, we lost our home, and the restaurant I own there is gone, and but I had an interview. I had a meeting that week with my supervisor, and and that was one of the things. Was like, hey, we're talking to a lot of white people. We did not talk to any native Hawaiian people. No one from that island that lived there who lost everything. And then she was just like, well, and then she like kind of shrugged it off. It's just things like that are disheartening. And to see CNN, make giant moves, like basically move all of production to Atlanta and cut down on jobs. Basically, tell people like Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer and like their big names like, hey, you got to take some pay cuts because we can't afford this. But David Zaslav can have $25 billion in stocks and $25 million in regular pay. Again, these are all just rumors that Wolf Blitzer might move back. This is just like an examination of CNN as a whole. CNN CEO Mark Thompson recently told staffers that corporate parent Warner Bros. Discovery planned to invest $70 million in his strategic vision to augment digital content. If you don't know who Mark Thompson is, he is the guy who was at hold on, let me see. There's so many Mark Thompsons because that's such a generic, boring white man name. I don't care. I don't give a shit, man. They're not going to hire me back. Accusations of pro-Israeli editorial stance. Come on, man. Anyway, we're not allowed to make stances. He was with BBC. He was hired when Chris Licht was let go for, I guess, all of his stupidity. He was named the CEO of New York Times in 2012. That's where I would know him from. And he did help, I will say, shift the Times into a more digital-only outlet. He did help bring in lots and lots of subscribers, which is good. But TV is different from newspaper. TV is different from newspaper. And it is so difficult for someone who he did, again, I'm not taking this away from him. He did work in television, but to be at the New York Times and he didn't see the shift that the BBC took, that other outlets took that are television based. He didn't see that shift, and he was not a part of that shift. Whereas CNN and Fox News and MSNBC bringing an outsider like that isn't necessarily the smartest and the right move. I think Chris Licht was great when he was at, I think he worked with Colbert. He was at CBS. He helped transition CBS This Morning to CBS Mornings, and he made it a better and brighter show. Television, cable television, and it's an entirely different beast from the New York Times. People aren't going to pay for CNN when they're already getting CNN. Nobody wants to read CNN. CNN is a 24-hour news operation. They want to watch it. If anything, they want to see, Anderson. I'm trying to find somebody who's not Anderson Cooper. They want to see Anderson Cooper's show, Anderson Cooper 360. I prefer Anderson Cooper Series X. That's an Xbox joke. That's stupid. I'm sorry. No, Anderson Cooper 1. But that was last year's version. Anderson Cooper Series X. Jesus Christ. They want to see Anderson Cooper's show, and they want to see, and then, if you have a supplemental show like, what is it called? The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, his 60 Minutes, where he's also a correspondent on 60 Minutes. They want to see that stuff. They don't want to go to CNN.com. And look, I'm sure CNN.com is doing well enough, but I don't go there mostly because I get my news from other places. And also, it is the most confusing website. That is also something I suggested to her. I understand why we couldn't change that, but I did tell her to my previous supervisor. I said, hey, it's a very confusing website, and when people see all this shit, I didn't say shit, but when they see all this stuff on this front page, they don't know what to click or where to go, and the way she refuted that, I went, all right. Let me tell you, because to take it back to New York Times, if we're the New York Times.com is competing with CNN.com, but CNN is not. CNN, the the cable network, is not competing with New York Times.com. Those are two different animals. And to throw all this, if you look at the two websites, New York Times.com is very busy in the same way that NPR and Wall Street Journal are. But when I go to CNN, there's a video playing in the top corner that started automatically playing. There's just on this main page, and I have a big screen in front of me, and so Chrome is quarantined off into one corner of the screen, and it is still so much. So I don't know. When I was at CNN again within the last I was gonna say year. I have not been there for longer than that. But when I was at CNN last in December 2023, the vision was more or less the same as it is now, focusing on digital. Develop, as Thompson writes in a memo in July, develop new digital products with a special focus on digital experiences worth paying for. This is not something people want from CNN. And I'll move on in a second. The unfortunate LA wildfires that happened in the past week. I believe there were 8 total fires, but those fires really brought out something that was missing, or reiterated something that we need in today's news cycle, and that's local news. And as I worked in local news, I worked in it for 3 years, and as much as I dislike the people in charge of local news, Another place that they did not even renew my contract, wasn't even on contract. Interns made more than me. I told this story on LinkedIn Logs, but one time I was helping an intern. She asked me, "Hey, how do I fill out? Can you help me fill out my pay sheet for interns?" And this is when I lived in the suburbs, and I was driving down to Atlanta, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, to work for $10 an hour. And I helped her fill out the sheet, and I was like, "Yeah, this is how you do it." And I was like looking at the numbers, and I went, "She made more money than me." I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm working like 8 hours a day on the weekends too. She made more money than me." Oh my god. Anyway, but that, we need more local news, because there was so much misinformation from Fox News mostly, but that's cable news. But from Fox News, CNN could only do so much, and it was local news. It was the local news networks in California talking about what's actually happening on the ground, as opposed to sending Tony DeCopel from CBS. No offense to Tony DeCopel, I like him a lot, but you send him out there. And it did help with their programming, but the just seeing that, I was gonna say a call sign for for LA, but I don't think it's right, and I think I would be naming my friend's station in Portland. But to see Dallas Raines talk about the fire, he's a big weathercaster in LA. To see, and I know him, isn't that crazy? But to see him talking about the fires, and to see the reporters out there reporting from their burned down homes, reporting from their burned down neighborhoods, burned down schools, churches, all that stuff, and then to see them grappling with that, and then talking about how this city's got to come back from this. That put more emphasis on news than anything CNN and MSNBC have done. I'm not naming Fox News. CNN and MSNBC have done in the past couple of years. Like when I don't know if you know about this, but Clarissa Thompson was in Syria. Was it Syria? I don't remember. And they happened upon what they thought was an imprisoned refugee. And they're like, live on air, we're saving this refugee, we're freeing him, we're freeing this hostage. And then like 2 days later, it was found out that this guy was probably a plant from his government. I don't know if it was Syria or not. I'm not going to say anymore. We're going to be like Top Gun Maverick and say, it was somebody from a different country. Top Gun Maverick never names anybody. You know why? Because they don't need to. We just know that the other country's the bad people. We don't even know if they're foreign. We just know they're just in a desert. And then the snow. Oh my gosh. Those are my thoughts on CNN and where it lies right now. I think I would be better. You know what? Here's my offer to Zaslav and Mark Thompson. Again, they will never hire me back. But I think that in hiring Mark Thompson, Zaslav should have also hired somebody who knew cable. Because again, cable's a different beat. Look at Anchorman 2. Like Anchorman 2 had some pretty stout. Jesus, Chad. Anchorman 2 had some pretty damned things to say about the 24, like just nuances about the 24-hour cable news platform. And we see it as a society. We see that we don't need this. Anyway, let's move on. Following the Venu shutdown, DirecTV, this comes from the Wall Street Journal, written by Isabella Simonetti. DirecTV pursues sports fans with new, slimmer streaming bundle. Baby, it's dry January and DirecTV's doing a cut. All right, if you don't know what Venu is, it was Disney, Warner Bros. Discovery, and Fox's streaming platform. I believe I talked about it last week. That is no longer happening. Do a small little recap. That was announced that those three companies were going to come together and do a streaming platform, put all of their networks together. Warner Brothers was going to give them TNT and TBS because that's where the basketball for now. And baseball is Disney was going to throw in ESPN and all of those sister networks, and ABC, I think, too. And Fox is going to throw in FS1, Fox Sports, all that stuff, as well as like your local things that in places like Atlanta you just can't get. Like I can't get Hawks games, but you would get like BN Sports and stuff. Fubo TV, which is streaming cable. I just call it streaming cable. Streaming cable provider that was focused mostly on sports, but you also were able to get like FXX and HGTV and all that stuff. They said they went to the government and said, this is crap. They can't do this. That's antitrust. And the government was like, that is antitrust. So then Venu was not allowed to launch. Cut to last week, Disney buys Fubo TV and says it's going to merge with Hulu with live TV. In a sense that they're going to be two different apps for people who want focus on Hulu or who want focus on Fubo. Then like the next day, it's announced that Venu was no longer going to happen. All the while, Paramount and Comcast were like, hey, what's going to happen? Like, how come we're not involved? And then they were going to do something, but that never materialized. And then DirecTV was like, hey, baby, we're going to do sports ourselves. It's called My Sports, and it's going to launch in 24 markets. Oh, it's already out. Okay, wow, today's Thursday, and it's good, and it features games from the NBA, the NFL, Major League, NHL, and college sports. It's going to provide channels from every single aforementioned company I just mentioned, including Warner Bros., Fox, NBC, and Disney. Excuse me. Including ESPN, USA Network. I don't think USA Network is going to be airing sports anymore. Am I correct about that? I think they lost wrestling and they only have soccer. I might be wrong about that. TNT, TBS, Fox 1, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, ACC, Big Ten, all that stuff. For consumers, the hunt for a low-cost all-in-one sports streaming service remains elusive. Many fans have to cobble together services to watch their favorite teams in sports and leagues and make life more challenging by inking exclusive deals with partners such as Amazon, which is true. So when TNT loses access to the NBA and Inside the NBA moves to ESPN, Inside the NBA on TNT moves to ESPN, it would be... Man, it's going to be so challenging, because already now it took me a while to realize, like, I'm not speaking of hyperbole. It took me a while to go, oh, the Thursday Night Football is on Amazon, which it's fine. It's great. It's basically one game. But now they have Saturday games, and then sometimes those are on Peacock, sometimes those are on Amazon. Sometimes those are on ABC proper. Not every game is on, CBS. Watching baseball I don't watch a lot of baseball, but watching baseball can sometimes get tough because, Apple has some games. Apple also has, American League Soccer. Then it's... Hockey's on ESPN Plus, but also the Australian Open just started, and you can watch all that on ESPN Plus. That's also available on Disney Plus if you have the ESPN Plus bundle. And then those games air live on ESPN, but since there are more matches going on at once, then they bounce around between Francis Tiafoe and Coco Gauff or whomever. It's crazy. DirecTV and other pay TV, that's what it's called, providers can provide total access to sports programming, but they've been eager to offer slimmer versions of the classic cable bundle for price-conscious viewers who don't want to pay for dozens of channels that aren't interested in. Most DirecTV customers watch fewer than 30 channels, the company said. I'll tell you what, I noticed that about myself on YouTube TV, and since it went up to $80, for the past year, I've been watching a lot more, just bouncing all over the place. I go to Comet TV, I go to TLC. I'm watching everything, baby. DirecTV struck a deal with Disney last year, allowing it to bundle and sell Disney channels by categories such as sports, entertainment, and children and family content. Viewers don't need to be DirecTV satellite subscribers to access the new My Sports service. It costs $70 a month. If you sign up now, okay, who cares? I don't care. It costs $70 a month. Venu was going to cost around $43 a month. CBS Sports right now is basically not a part of My Sports. CBS is a big miss because at this point in time, it kind of doesn't matter, but you're not seeing NFL games and college football games, but those are basically done for regular season. They are done for regular season. You're missing some basketball games and, most importantly, golf. And it also doesn't include regional sports networks, which would be the BN networks and all that stuff. I used to be able to watch a Hawks game on what used to be UPN or the WB, the WB or CW. I used to be able to watch games here, but now you can't. Oh, Peacock has exclusive rights to some NBA games starting next season. Jesus. Warner's participation in the DirecTV sports bundle is part of the broader 3-year distribution. It's, TV. They make us pay more for TV, and yet we get so little in return. When sometimes I'll see like an article that it'll say like YouTube TV is offering a new channel, and then I'll go to the channel. It's just like nothing. Like recently, AMC has extra channels, and the extra channels are things that are available like on Pluto TV, which is not to disparage Pluto TV, because sometimes I do turn it on, but if it's available on this free streaming thing, I don't want it. If it's the Walking Dead universe, that's nice to have. I fell out of The Walking Dead in like season 3. There's also a Portlandia channel on Pluto and on YouTube TV. But, Portlandia lasted 7 seasons. When I run through the entire series, I don't want a How I Met Your Mother channel. I don't want a 30 Rock channel. And I want a New Girl channel. I can just watch those on Hulu. This is the new world we live in. And everything's going to be spread out, and we're going to see a lot less because it is so spread out. Because if this NBA deal is any indication, we're already seeing, cordoned off NFL games. But this is going to happen with every sport. It's going to happen it's already happening with TV shows. Doctor Who is now on Disney Plus. It's a Disney Plus original. But in 10 years, because Disney or these streaming platforms don't really sell their products on Fandango or Apple TV or Google Movies. We have to go to 7 different places to watch, seasons 8 through 10 of Doctor Who, and then 14 through 16 or whatever. I don't know. That's so strange. I gotta end this here. I had one more story, but I gotta get off of that. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people. We had to do some remodeling of a couple of interviews. unfortunately, because of these LA fires. I'm not hurting for it. It's fine. So we'll see some of those in the future, but you can see me talk to famous people already. If you want to see video versions of those interviews, youtube.com/C+comedy, where you can also see a video version of this show, as well as video versions of the other podcasts, LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs podcast, and is this not? Oh, okay. LinkedIn Logs of the Jobs podcast, and Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show. You can watch video. I said video versions, right? Subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Pocket Cast, the rest. Follow us on TikTok. That's going to be gone by Sunday. We'll see what happens. Blue Sky, Instagram and Facebook @C+comedy. Me @ChadBlackWhite. Thank you so much. Bye.